Hello everyone, I'm the Canadian Gaming Penguin. Day 2 of the Digital Fan Festival was fun, emotional, and humbling, and so many more adjectives that I cannot wrap my head around the feelings to express them with words. The second day of the Digital Fan Festival 2021 started with introductions to each of the development team members that would be appearing in the various panels throughout the day's event, along with the English interpreters and the MC FoxClan. The development team members included producer and director Naoki Yoshida, aka Yoshi P, sound director and composer Masayoshi Soken, lead level designer Arata Takahashi, lead item designer Yosuke Yahashi, lead story designer Natsuko Ishikawa, lead project manager Shoichi Matsuzawa, quest designer Saki Takayanagi, UI designer Kei Odagiri, background artist Masato Shida, and global community producer Toshio Motoruchi, acting as the MC, aka FoxClan. The English interpreters were Michael Christopher Koji Fox, aka Koji, Kate, and Mina. After each person gave their opening comments and remarks, Yoshi P invited a special guest onto the stage. Square Enix executive director, senior member of the board of directors, former Final Fantasy brand manager Shinji Hashimoto. Hashimoto-san gave his own opening remarks and comments. Afterwards, Yoshi P thanked him for his work and acknowledged that Final Fantasy XIV is where it is today thanks to, in part, the work that Hashimoto-san did back when Yoshi P first started working on Final Fantasy XIV, and ever since then. Yoshi P presented Hashimoto-san with flowers and jokingly said that that's the best he could do given the circumstances, and he knew that Hashimoto-san would probably have preferred a red wine. It was a touching moment, and Yoshi P then stated that he usually gets embarrassed when he needs to express gratitude towards someone. That is definitely something I can understand. Anyways, afterwards we were given a quick overview of what the day's events would be. Thus, let's get to it. The letter from the producer live part 64 was the first event of day 2. Presenting the live letter was, of course, Yoshi P, with FoxClan acting as MC, as per usual. During the second half of the live letter, lead story designer Natsuko Ishikawa joined Yoshi P for a question and answer period. Kate and Mina provided the English interpretations for Yoshi P and Ishikawa-san. With that said, let's get into what we learned of what's to come to Final Fantasy XIV. The next patch, patch 5.55, aka patch 5.5 part 2, will be released on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, which I'll say is a good day because that's my birthday. Haha, happy birthday me. Anyways, with patch 5.55, the second part of the Death Unto Dawn main scenario quest will be available. This storyline continues the prelude to the Endwalker expansion. The conclusion of the Save the Queen storyline will also be available, and to recap the information we were told during the live letter part 63, there will be new story content along with new battle content. A new battlefield area Zadnor will be added, and in order to gain access to Zadnor, one must have completed the 5.4 main scenario quests and have the 5.4 Save the Queen story completed. The resistance rank cap will increase from 15 to 25. New skirmishes and critical engagements will be added. The Dalriada, a new large-scale assault with a maximum of 48 players, will also be added. As for new information, new story quests will be added, and choices made will reflect the route of the conflict, but not the final outcome. That is, there is different routes to the final outcome. I can't say much more about this myself, as I'm not really that far into the Save the Queen storyline. I need to get working on that. We were shown an image of one of the skirmishes, and like with what Yoshi P said, it makes me want to turn away from the screen, especially because of that eye. We were also shown a couple of screenshots of 2 of the new critical engagements, and then a screenshot of one of the new duels. We were also shown a screenshot of the Dalriada, and then we were shown some of the rewards. One gear picture, and a 2-seater mount, and new outdoor furnishing. Also new, after you have reached the maximum resistance rank, there will be a new form of progression, which is called Resistance Honors. Resistance Honors is unlocked after reaching resistance rank 25, obviously. Sufficient metal may be used to acquire proofs of metal, and proofs of metal can be exchanged for 3 types of honors that increase attributes in the Save the Queen areas. Son of Fortitude will increase the maximum HP, Son of Valor increases damage dealt, and Son of Succor increases healing potency. On the bottom right of the screenshot, we can see there are buffs with 2 and 3 on them. This is how many stacks one can have, and presumably each one is 2 stacks of increased health, 3 stacks of increased damage, and 2 stacks of increased healing potency. And note, this content is meant to be worked on a little at a time rather than all at once. AKA, don't burn yourself out. The final upgrade step to the resistance weapons will be available. The upgrade quests will be available upon unlocking the Zadnor area during the 5.55 storyline. The item level of the weapons will be the same as the Eden's Promise Savage weapons, but the substats will be slightly better. As mentioned during the live letter part 63, the initial upgrade to your first weapon will be challenging, but the second, third, etc. will be easier to upgrade as some steps will be able to be skipped. The Yorha Dark Apocalypse Alliance Raid series will be getting an epilogue, and these quests will be available come patch 5.55, aka in roughly a week's time. Achievement rewards for collecting Triple Triad cards will be added into the game and will be available. The official service for the PlayStation 5 version of Final Fantasy XIV will also begin on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. It was also mentioned that there was some sort of crafting material that was thought to have been obtained by desynthesizing something from the Extreme Trials, yet some of which that were thought to provide this crafting material didn't actually provide this crafting material, if that wasn't confusing at all. As some players were misinformed about this, and Yoshi P apologized for this miscommunication. However, now these Extreme Trials drops will provide the crafting material, but it will not be 100% guaranteed. And if that wasn't confusing to you, well, good. It's confusing to me because I honestly have no idea what the crafting item they were referring to and why this item would drop from desensitizing whatever from the Extreme Trials. I expect there will be an explanation in the patch notes once patch 5.55 is available, and or perhaps sooner than later. Anywho, finally we were given information about the upcoming schedule for Final Fantasy XIV. Patch 5.5 is on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, as I mentioned. The Make It Rain campaign will be on July 7th, 2021, and patches 5.57 and 5.58 will be in June and July, August, respectively, and these patches will be primarily minor adjustments, etc. The Moonfire Fair and the Rising events will be in August 8th, 2021, and we will have the returning event, Final Fantasy XV Collaboration, returns, as you can see, on September 9th, 2021. So if you didn't get your 4-seater Regalia vehicle mount, then would be the time to get it. And then obviously in November, we have the Endwalker expansion release. Between September and November, there will probably be a media tour, possibly other things, a pre-release testing phase, etc. They aren't sure on the details right now, but they will let us know as soon as they can. And Foxlon also mentioned that there might be a 14-hour broadcast at some point. And that concluded the first half of the live letter. Part 2 of the live letter was a question and answer period for the lead story designer Natsuko Ishikawa. Before they started the question and answer period, as Ishikawa-san and Mina were getting settled onto their spots on the stage, Yoshi P mentioned that there was a lot of hearts on the Twitch and YouTube stream chats. And yes, I was one of those people. After Ishikawa-san introduced herself and gave a bit of background of what type of work she does with Final Fantasy XIV, the question and answer period began. Rather than summarizing the question and answer period, I will instead mark the start of the second part of the live letter, which began around the 1 hour 27 minutes and 41 seconds portion of the Day 2 livestream. As before with the Day 1 summary, this is obviously dependent on however long the video is up on the Final Fantasy XIV YouTube channel. With that said, that concluded the main portions of the live letter. The next portion was the announcement section, which focused on numerous new merchandise that are now available. This period was a bit rushed through as they were going overtime. As a quick rundown, the Watchmaker Citizen has a collaboration with Final Fantasy XIV, and there are 2 special design watches, one that has a darker theme and one that has a lighter theme. To announce this next collaboration item, Soken was invited onto the stage, who brought with him a Final Fantasy XIV Stratocaster guitar made by the American Fender instrument maker. I have to say that this looks really cool, and we were given some additional details about it, but I will leave the Lodestone link about the guitar to explain more about it, and the link will be in the description below. We were also able to see the prototype in action during the Primals performance later on in the day. Related to the guitar, with patch 5.5, we were told that with patch 5.55, a new instrument would be added to the Perform feature. Well, the new instrument will be an electric guitar. Woot! This electric guitar will have a feature that will allow to switch between clean and distorted tones, and you will also be able to have a pick, slide, and mute effects. Additionally, an Aether electric guitar furnishing item will be available with MGP in the Manderville Gold Saucer. I know what I will be spending my MGP on. It was also noted that you may see this original artwork in various music-related magazines, etc. Anyways, other new merchandise included the Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers The Art of Reflection History's Unwritten book, which includes a wind-up Runar minion, the Ardbert figure, the Crystal Exarch figure, the Silver Pendant, Crystal Exarch's cane, they're small and medium. One is darker and bigger, the other is lighter and smaller. The Behelmeted Serpent of Ronka plushie, and book-style storage box source map. There's also the acrylic job magnet with 18 different designs, the stole, job icons, sling bag, job icons, personal organizer, job icons, a foldable eyeglass case, job icons. Yoshi said that this would be good for him and it would be something that he will be using. He also demonstrated how this item works. Key case, job icons, compact wallet, job icons, and wine glasses, Asian sigils, a box of 3, they look really cool. And then we had a vinyl LPs, one of each expansion, or a Final Fantasy XIV vinyl LP box set, which we see again later on during the Primals performance, again later in the day. And finally, we had a Japan-only glow stick, and it was jokingly said that you can get the glow stick now to use for the next one, next fan festival that is. And that concluded the live letter portion. All that was left was closing remarks from Ishikawa-san and Yoshi P. Next on the schedule of events on day 2 of the Digital Fan Festival was the Glamoured to Life Showcase. To present this event, Yoshi P, quest designer Saki Takayanagi, and Foxclon, acting as MC, were providing commentary. Koji and Mina were providing the English interpretation for Yoshi P and Takayanagi-san, respectively. The Glamour to Life Showcase event was a sort of for fun cosplay competition, something that would normally be done at the in-person fan festivals, but obviously could not be done at this time. Thus, this was the digital version of it, where everyone could participate while at home. And Yoshi P stressed that it's not about the competition, it's about the passion behind it. And since there were so many submissions, there were 9 categories created. Those are NPC, Warriors of Light Mikote, Moogle and Chocobo, Scions of the Seventh Dawn, Rin and Gaia, Crystal Exarch Graitia, Ancients, and Monsters, Tribes, and more. Each category had 9 finalists who were chosen by the community team. To involve those that were watching the stream, we were to cast our votes for the finalists that we thought should win each category. And then the Yoshida system would figure out which one from that was the winner. AKA Yoshi P would look at the screen and try to figure out which number appeared the most in the stream chats. Sometimes it was easier to find the winner, other times it was not. Especially when the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat couldn't seem to agree with which number was the winner. Anyways, after we went through the 9 categories, Yoshi P and Takayanagi-san were tasked with choosing their favorites for whichever reason that they wanted. Yoshi-P didn't want to choose just one, so he convinced Foxclaw to let him choose 5 instead. Takanagi-san didn't want to choose just one either, so she opted to choose 2. After Takanagi-san and Yoshi-P chose their favorites and gave their reasons behind choosing them, that concluded the Glamoured to Life showcase event. Takanagi-san and Yoshi-P then gave their closing remarks, including a thank you from Yoshi-P for all those that participated in the Yoshida system, and thus ended the panel. In between the end of this panel and that of the next, they had a slideshow of all the other entrants to the Glamoured to Life showcase. This started around the 4 hours, 10 minutes, and 20 seconds mark of the Day 2 livestream. The next event of Day 2 of the Digital Fan Festival 2021 was the live question and answer period with Yoshi-P. This period included Yoshi-P, obviously, Foxclaw acting as MC once again, and Mina and Kate providing the English interpretations. During this period, normally those asking the questions would be invited on the stage, but obviously this couldn't happen this time around, so instead they used the Zoom's meeting program to connect with fans across the globe to have their questions asked. I won't be summarizing the questions in this video. Instead, once again, I will mark where the live question and answer portion of the livestream occurred, and that is at the 4 hours, 43 minutes, and 35 second mark. If you have any difficulty with understanding or hearing some of the questions and answers, the unofficial Final Fantasy XIV Discord translation team did provide the questions and answers there, which was fortunate for me because I was having some difficulty. So a big thank you to them. The next event of Day 2 was the Flashback with the cast. This was in Japanese only, and once again, the unofficial Final Fantasy XIV Discord translation team provided a summary of such as best as they could to this portion of the fan festival. This, in my opinion, was a lot more challenging to do, so a huge thank you to them. As this was more of an interview, and as such, more a flowing conversation would make it much more difficult to include a word-for-word translation, which is also likely why Square Enix did not provide one during this portion, as it would interrupt the flow of conversation. Also in part to the fact that the cast in question were the Japanese voice actors for Urianger, Grahatia, and Emmett Selk. That said, who was involved with this event? Well, Yoshi-P, Foxclaw as the MC, and the 3 cast members, Yuma Yoshida, the voice of Grahatia, Ken, the voice of Urianger, and Hiroki Takahashi, the voice of Emmett Selk. During this event, the 3 voice actors had a little skit of sorts that had them interacting off stage as their characters before they actually came onto the stage, after which they appeared on stage, and then we were given some background of what other work each of them had done, including Final Fantasy XIV work. During this event, Yoshi-P had each of the actors try to voice different characters, including their own, with some scenes that were not voiced previously, among other things. It was quite fun to watch and listen to, even though I couldn't understand 99% of what they were saying. With that said, I will leave that there. The next event was the Who Wants to Be a Gillionaire, which began around the 7 hour, 23 minute, and 55 second mark of the Day 2 livestream. This event had 2 teams of 4 who were to complete a challenge each round. The first team to successfully complete the challenge would have 60 seconds to answer a question. If they were correct, they would win Gil, but not really, it was just for the game show. If they answered incorrectly, the opposing team had the opportunity to guess the correct answer. Each team could call a link shell friend twice during the show, and they would have 30 seconds to discuss. The next round would begin after the question was answered correctly. Whichever team had the most skill at the end would be the winners. The 2 teams were Team Heidelin and Team Zodiark. Team Heidelin consisted of Mr. Happy, Spofi, Larry Zor, Daniel aka Okiomi, a member of the North American community team, and their designated link shell friend was Anonymous. Team Zodiark consisted of Alex, Zeppla HQ, Frosty, Natasha or Tasha, aka Kiwi Kopo, I butchered the name, a member of the EU community team. And their designated link shell friend was Ethis. And if I said that name wrong, my bad. And I can't speak either, apparently. There were 3 challenges played, 3 questions answered, and then a final bonus round and a final bonus question that could let either team win I'm not going to answer who actually won, though. If you're wanting to know, you'll just have to watch it yourself. As I mentioned before, the Who Wants to be a Gillionaire event began around the 7-hour, 23-minute, and 55 seconds mark of the Day 2 livestream, based on the Final Fantasy XIV YouTube video. If at some point the video isn't available, I'll leave a comment on this video of who the winner was, and any other details if necessary. I'm mean, but I'm not that mean. Anyways, the final event of Day 2 in the Digital Fan Festival 2021 was the band performance. That is, the Primals performance. Before the event began, 2 people were talking. I feel really dumb saying it like that, but I really have no idea who they were. I think one of them was one of the development team members, and the other I have no idea. I'm sorry, I'm completely ignorant, so I can't help you either. But here's a picture of the 2 of them. Alright, so moving on with that. While we were waiting for the performance to begin, they, according to the YouTube stream chat, were introducing each of the Primal members. While we could see a photo, they were introducing them one by one. And they were talking about each member of the Primals, but I have no idea what they were saying. Before they did this, though, they reminded us about the art contest and the voting period, and more details about that can be found on the Lodestone. I will have a link in the description below. And they also reminded us about the Estates of the Realm contest. Again, more details about that can be found via the Lodestone link in the description below. And next up were safety instructions for the live performance. I won't go into that, but if you're interested in seeing this yourself, this starts around the 8 hours, 44 minutes, and 50 seconds mark of the Day 2 livestream. After that, the performance began, at the 8 hour, 48 minutes, and 20 second mark of the livestream. I encourage you to watch the performance if you get the chance. So the first 2 songs performed were Insatiable and To the Edge. Following this, there was a pre-recorded video by Jason that was played, similar to the Amanda video during the piano performance on Day 1. Then they played the songs Blinding Indigo and Equilibrium. After, Soken took a moment to talk about the vinyl LP box, and I have to say that the covers look awesome. Oh, and you get an MP3 version of the song too when you purchase one of them. Soken even took a moment to say that in English to emphasize that point.
っていうのを、簡単に英語で説明すると Buy this! You get MP3 too! English! 大丈夫かなカンペ読んだだけだけどね。
And next up were the songs What Angel Wakes Me, and during this performance, each band member does a little bit of a solo and has a little bit of a blurb, and also we get to see some of the stream chat. After that song concluded, there was a brief pause to call Koji out onto the stage. And at some point while we were waiting for the next song, as they were showing the stream chat, I even made it onto the big screen. Or, well, my YouTube channel name did, anyways. See? Anyways, enough about me. Then a Big Fat Taco, the Ultima song was performed. Following was the A Long Fall song, and you'll definitely want to watch this one as a certain meme comes to life during it. This starts around at the 9 hours 32 minutes mark of the livestream. The next song, Under the Weight, also one you'll want to pay attention to, because a certain producer and director makes an appearance. There was another break in between performances to talk more about the Final Fantasy XIV Stratocaster guitar. Then Yoshi P is kicked off the stage. He starts singing as he exits stage left. The final 3 songs of their performance were Metal Brute Justice Mode, which Soken adds his trumpeting skills to this performance, and then the songs Rise and then Locus. As an encore performance, Shadowbringers was played. Thus brings us to the conclusion of the Digital Fan Festival. Yoshi P and Moxclon joked around about seeing someone that strangely looked like the other at some point during the Primals' performance. Haha, it definitely wasn't them. Anyways, Yoshi P says something along the lines of, yes, the fan festival is 2 days of daydreaming or something like that. Terrible paraphrase, but yes, anyway, it was amusing anyways. And a short while later, Foxconn calls the development team members back onto the stage to make their closing remarks, etc., and each of the team gives their closing remarks, thank yous, etc. This starts around the 10-hour, 13 minutes, and 43 seconds mark. Nearing the end of the closing remarks, before Yoshi-P gives his final words, he tells us that Soken asked to take a few minutes to say something else. Soken then moves to the center of the stage. This next part is a bit heavy and was very unexpected, and as unexpected as it was, I am not worse for it. In fact, I have more respect for Square Enix, for Yoshi-P, and especially for Soken. I also need to commend Koji for staying as composed as he was giving the English interpretation, when you could clearly see how difficult it was for him to relay the translation. Soken begins to tell us what he wishes to say as Koji translates for him, and as soon as the words "talk about something about my personal life" were said, my reaction was to say, I have a bad feeling about this, and not in the amusing way that a certain smuggler says it. While it was bad, it wasn't as bad as I thought in the sense that there was very good news alongside the bad news, but don't get me wrong, the bad news shouldn't be taken lightly, nor should the good news be taken lightly either. That said, as much as I would like to show the full extent of Soken's message and the responses from those on stage, and the chat for that matter, it's roughly 20 minutes in length, thus I will be word for word stating how Koji translated what Soken said. I will leave my comments about what was said until after I finish saying what Soken said. There's some alterations with the removal of some uhs and stammering as Koji found his sentences to translate. Anyways, if you would like to see the full context of what was said, it begins at 10 hours, 36 minutes, and 10 seconds of the YouTube Day 2 livestream video. Soken says this via the voice of Koji. I've asked for a few moments of your time to talk about something about my personal life. So first and foremost, I'm here because I want to thank all of you. It was about last year in March, right before the Primals had planned to do a concert in Japan, and the coronavirus had just started to pick up. I was diagnosed with cancer at that time, and I didn't really tell anyone at that time. Until October of last year, I spent approximately 6 to 7 months in the hospital. So thinking about how to use that time, I didn't want to just sit there and do nothing, and neither did Yoshida-san, and neither did our CEO. And so they worked it out so we could have a special arrangement while I was in the hospital. And I also had a lot of support from my sound team as well, and with that I spent those months trying to fight this cancer. The chemotherapy, as a lot of you know, was really tough for me. Mentally tough as well as physically tough. And so I was working there in the hospital room very hard for all those months, and finally we were able to release 5.3, release the song To the Edge, and seeing the reactions of all the players from around the world, it helped me conquer this cancer. And so, I am happy to say that I asked my doctor if I could go out, and he said yes, because the cancer, luckily, is in remission right now, almost in full remission. And that is why I am able to stand here today, because of all the power that I got from everyone, from Yoshida Naoki, who supported me, from CEO and President Matsu-san, who supported me, for all of those great people in our HR department that made it possible for me to continue working and get through this, and then return here in front of you. And we can't forget it's you, the players, and all of your comments and all of your love. That's what brought me back. And I realized through all of this, video games can really heal. And from here on out, I am going to continue to give it my all to create games for you guys. Thank you very much. I've watched this part of the livestream more than a few times now, and it doesn't get any easier. After Soken finishes, it takes a couple of minutes for Yoshi-P to compose himself enough so that he can relay his thoughts. Between that time and the time that Yoshi-P is able to speak, there was a bit more discussion between Soken and Ishikawa-san. Ishikawa-san felt bad for not knowing, to which Soken said that he didn't tell anyone in the development team out of concern that they would worry about him and that it would affect their performance, and he didn't want that to happen. Ishikawa-san then said that she felt bad that she had him do a bunch of different tweaks, etc., and including To the Edge song as well, to better have it fit to the cutscene while he was in hospital. And Soken says that it was because he wasn't treated differently, that because the work was the same, that it made him feel like nothing had changed, and it was because of this that he was able to get through this. Once Yoshi-P finds his word, he welcomes Soken back, and Soken replies, Thank you very much. I'm back. Yoshida-san continues with his thoughts, his thank yous, and his apologies to the devs for not being able to tell them, to us, that he didn't know that if this was the right message to leave the Digital Fan Festival, that he was thankful and really, really happy that his best friend is back. He concluded that, as much as he thought the Digital Fan Festival was good, he would like to be able to get back out in front of us for the next fan festival, and until then, they will work on 6.0. So my thoughts on this. It was in those moments of watching and listening to Soken's message that the pandemic made all this much more painful. I only have an idea of what Soken had to suffer through, alone. It was painful watching and knowing that the people on stage could not embrace each other in compassion, friendship, that they had to stand apart, physically distanced. It was a reminder of how many people have suffered since the start of the spread of the virus in December of 2019, because of the virus or because of other afflictions, or just in general, or because of restrictions. It was a reminder of those who have affected by those who lost loved ones, who can't say proper goodbyes, who wouldn't be there for funerals, who can't or couldn't be there in hospitals to help them fight whatever afflicts or afflicted them. It was also a close personal reminder as I lost my grandfather, my mother's father, last year, not from COVID. My mother couldn't visit him in person, albeit she was able to do so virtually, and she was virtually there when he did pass away. We couldn't attend the funeral either. It's been 8 months almost to the day since he passed away. We still have not been able to visit that side of the family, and that likely won't happen until at least 2022. It was a reminder of all the people in the front line, the medical staff. While not unusual to see death in their occupation, to see the massive amounts of death for a prolonged period of time, more so in some places. It was a reminder of all those working in essential services and having to continue to face the risk while working. Soken's message. It was a reminder of the strength, passion, and love that we can bring to one another in the support of one another, even if we cannot do so in each other's physical presence. I thank Yoshida-san for letting Soken-san tell his story, and also for Yoshida-san relaying a part of his story as well. I thank Soken-san for telling us his story, even if it was just to thank us for giving him the strength to endure, to fight. I also commend Koji, once again, for staying as composed as he was to translate for us. It certainly wasn't the ending of the Digital Fan Festival that I expected, nor I think what anyone else expected. But of the places to make a statement, a thank you, it was then. I have just one final thing to say. Welcome back, Soken.